So welcome! Hi, beautiful, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to this video. Today we're going to be talking about how to let go of resentment and open your heart. If you have not met me, my name is Brooke Nicole. I'm a spiritual life and purpose coach here on a mission to help you reconnect with your soul, with the deepest truth within you so that you can awaken to your soul's purpose, your divine mission here on earth to fulfill. So magical. So anyways, let's get into what we're here to talk about today. Letting go of resentment and opening up your heart. When you are holding on to resentment, it's like walls that you're putting around your heart to not let anyone in. It's protection, right? Especially from those who have hurt you in the past, right? So if someone has hurt you in your past and you have not fully healed that, if you haven't acknowledged that, if you haven't found acceptance and let that go, your relationships are going to suffer from that. Right? Through this video, I'm going to use my relationship with my mom as an example. I have held resentment for her in the past, and I didn't even really realize it. But what I did realize were my reactions to her. So if you have a relationship or relationships in your life where you aren't being your authentic self, if you aren't leading with love, if you find yourself being really triggered by them or needing to prove your worth to them, there might be something there that you really need to dive in and really understand so that you can open your heart and be more loving. When you choose to let go of resentment, that means you're choosing love. You're choosing to no longer allow the past to hold you back from being the best version of yourself. You could be holding on to resentment for something little that happened a long time ago, but for some reason it's still a block and not allowing you to fully be seen or to see others or to love others. This resentment can be in our parents, in your relationships, in past relationships, in friendships, in any dynamic in your family. So if we ignore the resentment that we hold, it's really creating blocks from allowing you to be free, to be that best version of yourself, that most authentic version of yourself, to be who you are, to lead with love, to step into your purpose, right? So it's so important that we dive into this. All right, so how do we do this? How do we open our heart when it's been closed for so long? How do we let go of that resentment and allow ourselves to see others for the true unconditional love that they are as well? So first, you have to identify and admit that there is some resentment there. You have to recognize that this relationship, there is something that's unhealed there because I'm getting triggered, because their energy isn't feeling good with mine. I feel very on edge. So once you recognize that, you then can take responsibility. You can say, okay, I know that this is my responsibility to heal, which is probably why you're here on this video right now. You know you're holding on to some resentment. You know it's holding you back from where you're meant to be, where you want to be, and you want to move through it. So next is to really become the investigator of your life. Deep, deep understanding of where this resentment started. Allow yourself to go back in time. Revisit some traumatic things that may have happened with that person. And sometimes some big traumas happen, right? Some really, really challenging things. And then other times it's small things that feel really intense, right? Where that person might not even been intentionally trying to hurt you, but as a child, you are an innocent soul just filled with pure unconditional love. And when that one thing was said or done or observed, it kind of made you believe that you weren't good enough, or made you resent that other person for not being the person that you thought they were. And that's what's holding us back, right? So really understand what it is, right? Dive deep in your journal, get a coach, allow yourself to dive into what the root is. Why are you holding on to this resentment? And why is it so difficult for you to let go? Is it something that's reoccurring, something that's happening all the time? Was it something really traumatic for you? And allow yourself to sit with those feelings. Allow yourself to be with all of it, because facing it and going there is really brave. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And so have compassion for yourself through this process. And then as you bring it all out, right, you gain understanding, you identify what the root issues are, I want to invite you to gain perspective, right? As a child, we have this narrow perspective on how things affect us as kids, right? This little 7-year-old doesn't really understand the world. She didn't really understand what needed to be done. She didn't see the bigger picture. You just saw, how did this affect me? And so now, as a conscious adult, you can start to widen that lens. What could have been going on during that time? What was your parents going through? Were they maybe going through a divorce? And maybe your parent projected something onto you or took their anger out on you because they were having a hard time and didn't know how to handle it, right? So really gain perspective on what life situations were going on during that time that you felt like you weren't wanted, or that you were not good enough or not worthy enough. And also gain perspective on that person's backstory, right? What have they gone through in their life? What traumas are they showing up in the world with? Because we all show up in the world with lenses of our past experiences. So if your parents or your past relationship, if they hadn't, or your current relationship, if they haven't taken the necessary healing steps to face their shadows, to dive deep into their past, to understand what's going on, to find healing and acceptance, they're projecting their pain onto you unconsciously. And this isn't fair, and it doesn't make it okay. But as a conscious adult who has the intention to heal, you then can see and gain understanding that they're wounded too. Oftentimes, as children, we view our parents as this perfect being, this idol that we just look up to, and anytime they do anything wrong, it's like, oh, they're perfect. It must be me, right? And so we build this resentment. We build these beliefs about ourselves that aren't real. They're not true, but we just don't understand that in those moments. And so now, when you're healing, really gaining that perspective of where they were coming from, what lenses were they seeing the world through? Because really, your parents, your relationship, your friendships, yourself, we're always doing the best that we can with the level of awareness that we have, with the healing that we've done, right? And that's the best that we can do. And so then we move into our next step, right? Which is finding compassion, finding love for yourself and for them, right? Seeing like, oh, wow, you were really wounded. You went through a lot of things and you haven't healed yet. I understand and I have compassion for what you are going through. And start to see them as an imperfect human who needs healing and who needs love also. And when you start to change your perspective on that, you can begin to open your heart and see, I've made mistakes, they've made mistakes, you've made mistakes. We're all here on this planet to learn, and we do that through messing up and making mistakes. Being a mom now, I've learned so much about my childhood, right? I try to be the perfect mom, to try to do everything perfectly, but my kids still find what is not right. So as a child, you'll always find something that isn't perfect or something that didn't meet your needs. And that's on purpose. That happened on purpose because you are here to move through that. You're here to heal through that, to evolve your soul. And so we have to stop holding that resentment and rather invite in love and compassion and see the other person as a human going through their own human experience as well. All right, and then have compassion for yourself. What did you need in those moments? What do you need right now? All human beings want the same thing. They want to be loved. They want to be accepted. They want to be heard. Give that to yourself. Make it a devotion to love yourself, to learn from these incidences that happen, to allow you to gain your self-worth, to love yourself, to accept yourself. It's a journey, and having your back, having compassion for yourself throughout the way is the most important thing. And then you can move into finding some acceptance, forgiveness, right? Forgiveness is just your willingness to let it go. It was in the past. Let it go. It's okay. It is safe to let it go. And honestly, sometimes it's harder to hold on to something than to just let it go and to free yourself. You know, when you hold on to something that doesn't need to be held on to anymore, it brings up pain, it brings up trauma, it disconnects you from your heart, it brings anger. We're shifting the world into love. And that starts within you. Seeing love in others, choosing to let it go and to invite in love. Open your heart. Make peace with the past. You cannot change it. You have to find acceptance for what you cannot change and choose to move forward with love. And then next, I would invite you to reflect on the lesson, because like I said, that's why you're here. You're here on this planet to evolve as a soul. You came here in this incarnation to evolve. And so let's just imagine that this person was the universe in different form. What would the universe be teaching you through this? Maybe to gain your independence, to remember your worth, to reclaim your power, to love yourself. What is this situation trying to teach you? Every single person in your life was divinely placed there at the right time for you to evolve, for you to learn the lesson. And if you don't learn the lesson, it will continue to repeat itself over and over and over again. And so take a step back, right? Look at the situation. What am I supposed to be learning here? And then start to embody that lesson. Start to see that, right? I'm here to learn my worth. And then start to create that as your new story, right? That's our next one, right? Create a new story, a new empowered story. I am grateful that this happened because it taught me how to do this. I am grateful that this last relationship, I was treated like this because I learned how to reclaim my worth. I learned how to be independent, how to love myself. And that was the purpose of it. And so now with this changed story, you then get to integrate that. What that means is now you have found acceptance, you have forgiven, you have done all this inner work. But now how is this going to look on the outside? So when you come in contact with your mom, with your dad, your relationship, what are you going to shift? How are you going to shift that interaction so you aren't reactive, so you aren't defensive, so you don't get angry, you don't have to have a cold heart, you don't have to protect yourself anymore? How can you show up with an open heart, being vulnerable and allowing yourself to be seen for who you really are? Once you're able to integrate that, that's where the transformation happens. That's when you set yourself free from the resentment, and that's where you live and lead with an open heart. So integration, what would that look like, right? So you'll show up when you see those people, when you're coming in contact, be aware and take conscious action, right? So set an intention, take a few deep breaths. What am I letting go? This is not serving me anymore. I gained perspective. I see where they were coming from. I choose to see them as the beautiful soul that they are. I'm choosing to not be reactive. I'm going to open my heart. I'm going to choose love. I am grateful for the lessons this has taught me. Every single time you are in that person's presence, bringing yourself back into that state of being so you can show up as the new version of yourself, of the healed version of yourself, the one that is open, the one that is loving, the one that is empowered, the one that's aligned with her truth. All right, my love. I hope this was helpful for you. I'm sending you so much love. Mwah.